UFO history. About UFO incidents have always been in this world one of the most fascinating topics, because we are always full of curiosity about the unknown, especially about whether in the universe there is life beyond humanity. Before cameras and camcorders were invented, these bizarre incidents could only be recorded in writing and by word of mouth. You could say there was no solid proof to them. But in the more than 100 years since the invention of the camera, people around the world have documented tens of thousands of unidentified UFO phenomena. It's hard to say how many of them are real, but there are definitely some things beyond our understanding. Today, let's look back over the past 150 years at the most famous UFO photos captured by people from all times and places, so you can see them all in one go. The first appearance of UFOs cannot be verified. In many texts, ancient books and murals around the world, we can already find traces of them. This shows that the UFO phenomenon is not something that only appeared in modern times. Not until the camera was invented in 1839 were these strange things in the sky finally recorded in the form of images. According to research, the world's first UFO photograph was taken in 1870 in the state of New Hampshire, on the summit of Mount Washington. At that time, the photographer just wanted to capture the snowy mountain scenery, but unintentionally photographed this strange object. Given that photographic technology at the time was not very advanced, the photos all had an inky, printed feel. But you can still see that this unidentified object is entirely black in color, silhouetted beneath the thick layers of cloud. This is a photo said to be the earliest UFO photograph in China. In 1942, in Tianjin, which was still the capital of Hebei province at the time, on its most bustling Herping Road commercial street, one morning, many people witnessed an unidentified object appearing in the sky. At that time, a Japanese photographer happened to be passing by. He picked up his camera and snapped this picture. In the photo, you can see many people looking up at this object. Afterwards, Japanese newspapers ran it as a front-page headline, reporting on this incident. This also became China's first UFO photograph. On February 25, 1942, just 2 months after the United States announced its entry into World War II, at 2 a.m., over Los Angeles on the West Coast, a large number of unidentified lights suddenly appeared. Tens of thousands of people saw them and began to panic. At first, people suspected they were Japanese bombers. Later, they thought they were bomb-carrying balloons released by Japan. The U.S. Army's 37th Coast Artillery Brigade fired 1,400 anti-aircraft shells, but not a single light was shot down. Photographers captured this famous photograph. This incident later became known as the Battle of Los Angeles. In December 1944, as World War II was nearing its end, on the European front, large numbers of American bombers began to carry out intense bombing raids on German territory. To avoid German anti-aircraft fire, these bombers mostly flew at night. On a night in late December, a crew member of an American bomber near Breisach, Germany saw, not far from the plane, several fiery red glowing spheres flying alongside the bomber. As the observer, he immediately picked up his camera and took several photos. But afterwards, he did not report this incident until other fellow pilots also said they had seen these unknown objects. Did this matter become known to the world? These unidentified objects were called Foo Fighters. During World War II, they repeatedly appeared beside Allied fighter planes. Their speed was extremely high, and they would suddenly appear or disappear, but they never once attacked the Allied fighters. After being rendered by artists, these orange-red Foo Fighters look like this. Some people say they were flying saucers developed by Nazi Germany. Others say they were plasma clouds. To this day, there is still no answer. On June 24, 1947, an American pilot named Kenneth Arnold was flying his plane over Mount Rainier when he saw a series of 9 shining UFOs, and he described the shape of these UFOs as like a crescent scimitar, with an orange bulge in the middle. He estimated their speed to be at least 1,700 miles per hour, 2,700 kilometers per hour. At that time, there was no aircraft in the world that could reach such a speed. The U.S. Air Force had not yet been established then. So, Arnold submitted a report to the U.S. Army Air Forces, which included annotated sketches of the 9 objects. This was the first UFO incident to cause a worldwide sensation after World War II, and it is also known as the beginning of modern UFO sightings. From then on, UFO sightings increased dramatically all over the world. Flying saucer and flying disc. That is, the term flying saucer began to enter popular usage. What's more, coincidentally, just 10 days later in the state of New Mexico, USA, the world-famous Roswell incident occurred, and the crashed UFO in the legend was quite similar in shape to what Arnold described. In 1951, a couple living in McMinnville, Oregon, USA, took a photograph of a UFO. Later, this photo was reprinted by Life magazine in the United States and became one of the most famous UFO photos. After image enhancement, you can see a clear, hat-shaped object. At the time, Life magazine promised that after publishing it, they would return the negatives to the couple. But afterwards, the magazine told them that the negatives had been accidentally lost. In 1951, a U.S. Air Force officer named Edward Ruppelt photographed a V-shaped luminous object composed of multiple points of light. It is one of the few UFO photos released by military personnel and is therefore considered highly credible. According to Ruppelt, they were sitting in the backyard of a professor's house in Lubbock, Texas, when they saw in total 20 to 30 lights fly overhead. At first, they thought they were meteors, but these lights formed a regular V-shape over Lubbock, Texas, which made them think it was a UFO. So they took this photograph. The incident caused a sensation and was called the Lubbock Lights Incident. After that, someone created an artistic image of the Lubbock Lights. This is extremely similar to the V-shaped UFO from the 1997 Phoenix incident in the United States. In 1952, a man named Adamski, in his own backyard, used an inch telescope to photograph a cigar-shaped UFO. You can see that its structure seems to be made up of rings. The reason this picture is so clear is that Adamski claimed to have had contact with these extraterrestrial civilizations. According to him, these cigar-shaped UFOs come from Venus. They live inside Venus, and their base on Earth is also inside the Earth, in a huge cavity in the mantle. These cigar-shaped UFOs are suited to traveling thousands of kilometers underground to reach the mantle, entering and exiting through the craters of active volcanoes, then releasing small UFOs. So when a volcano erupts, there is a chance to capture such cigar-shaped UFOs on camera. He also released a close-up photograph of a Venus Scout-type UFO. It is practically a full close-up shot. In 1952, Washington, D.C. reported a series of UFO incidents. Someone photographed a formation of unidentified lights flying over the U.S. Capitol building. They were believed to be secret Soviet aircraft or to be weather balloons. In 1957, an FBI employee in the United States, near Holloman Air Force Base in New Mexico, photographed a huge unidentified object. This object seemed to be trailing a long, flaming tail. Near Holloman Air Force Base, this is the famous White Sands Missile Range, one of the most highly secured places in the United States. The world's first atomic bomb, the Trinity test, was carried out here. Afterwards, various advanced weapons were tested here. So some people also suspect that the UFO in the photo was actually a secret aircraft being tested by the United States, because the fiery exhaust in the photo shows that it was still using conventional propulsion. In 1967, near Rhode Island in the US, another cigar-shaped UFO was photographed. Its length was estimated at 700 feet, 210 meters, and in the lower right of the photo there is a smaller sphere or disc. In many sightings, next to cigar-shaped UFOs, there will be a spherical object. Some people believe that the cigar shape is the mothership, and the spherical or disc-shaped objects are like scout craft. This is an aerial photograph taken by Costa Rica's National Geographic Institute, IGN. Please pay attention to the disc on the left. In 1971, a group of hydrology experts were doing aerial photography 3,000 meters above Lake Cote. Underneath the survey plane, a camera was mounted, taking photos of the area at 20-second intervals. After the photos were taken, they did not notice anything unusual until the photos were developed. A metallic disc-shaped object seemed to be hovering in mid-air. This has also been praised as the most perfect UFO photograph ever taken. The photo was later handed over to NASA in the United States for analysis, and finally they concluded that the photo showed no signs of forgery. The disc has light and shadow, which are 3D characteristics produced by direct sunlight on a solid object. It is estimated that this disc's diameter is about 36 meters. It seems to be coming out of the water, or about to enter the water. On July 1, 1973, a Canadian couple were vacationing at Tagish Lake when they suddenly saw on the surface of the lake 7 strange glowing orbs. They immediately took photos with their camera. The photo later became widely circulated. The photo was taken in daylight, and the lights were very high up, making fakery very difficult. But some people found that after they took the photo, a few hours later, in nearby Cross Bay, there was a magnitude 6.7 earthquake. So some people believe that they photographed earthquake lights. That is a kind of luminous phenomenon that occurs before or after an earthquake, caused by quartz in rock layers rubbing together and generating electric charges, forming an optical phenomenon. Only about 0.5% of earthquakes produce earthquake lights in a plasma ball state. But these lights are so clear and regular that it is hard for people to believe they are earthquake lights. In 1974, in the Var department of France, a doctor who was also a photography enthusiast was by the seaside at night and accidentally took a photo of a UFO glowing orange-red. At the bottom of this UFO, there also seemed to be 4 beams of light shooting down. In 1976, in the Canary Islands off the west coast of Africa, which are also Spanish territory, there occurred a UFO incident witnessed by 10,000 people. At around 8 p.m., a huge orange-red fireball appeared in the sky, as bright as the sun, but much larger than the sun. The key is this was at night. It should have been impossible to see the sun. As a result, This photo also became one of the most classic UFO photographs. In 1981, a Mexican photographer named Carlos Diaz, after going to shoot photos at Ajusco National Park, was driving back. Because it was getting late, he suddenly saw in the distance on the mountain an orange-red UFO. He immediately pulled over, picked up his camera, and took a shot. It is a very clear disc-shaped object, seemingly hovering beside the mountain, a semi-transparent amber color. When Diaz wanted to take another shot, his camera film suddenly jammed. Just as the UFO was slowly rising, Diaz finally managed to take another photo. In the end, Diaz developed the negatives and handed them to Professor Victor at the National University of Mexico, who analyzed these photos and enhanced the negatives. He found that these photos exceeded all known camera parameters. The light emitted by the unidentified flying object was extremely intense. The UFO's diameter was about 30 meters, and only 5 meters above the ground, and the spectrum of light emitted by this UFO was something he had never seen before. Even more striking is that the UFO Diaz photographed is extremely similar to the UFO photographed in 1974 by that doctor in France's VAR department. It is very likely the same UFO. On June 23, 1990, at 3 a.m., a dragon snake-shaped unidentified flying object composed of many lights passed through the night sky over Kaifeng, Henan, China, and fell to the ground, becoming the sensational Kaifeng 6 23-inch flying saucer incident. This is also the only UFO incident in China that has physical evidence. That night over Kaifeng, Henan, some people saw a long strip-shaped luminous object silently fly across the sky. Others took photographs. In the photos, you can see high-rise buildings and tower cranes still under construction. The unidentified flying object was led by a glowing ball the size of a basketball, followed in formation behind it by many smaller glowing balls about the size of a fist. In the end, this string of objects fell to the ground locally, and even caused casualties. Kaifeng police immediately responded. And finally, at the home of Jing Zhang on Zhuangqiao Street, they learned the truth of the incident. After the object fell, it smashed into the tile roof of his house, and also knocked over a bicycle. In Xing Zhang's yard, the police also found debris from the UFO. The fragment weighed 3.5 kilograms and was overall silver gray in color, with a ridge in the middle, 30 millimeters thick. After laboratory testing, they found its melting point was above 3,000 degrees Celsius. They contacted the 725 Research Institute in Luoyang, where senior engineer Xu Guozhao used Japan's most advanced chemical scanning microscope of the time to conduct an analysis. The analysis showed that the fragment was non-radioactive and that its elements were 89% aluminum, 6% magnesium, 0.3% zinc. Xu Guozhao believed that based solely on the analysis results, it was impossible to determine whether the fragment was made by extraterrestrials, but it was certainly not material from an aircraft or satellite. This incident is also known as China's Roswell incident. In 1991, a Belgian teacher was observing the stars in the wild. When a huge triangular UFO flew overhead, he hurriedly picked up his camera and took a shot. After this, sightings of it appeared all over the world. This legendary craft is known as the TR-3B triangular UFO. It is said that humans reverse-engineered it from crashed alien UFOs to create an anti-gravity aircraft, which appears all around the globe. In 2007, in August, someone in Turkey photographed an extremely clear UFO. How clear was it? When you enlarge the image, you can even see inside the UFO, two small figures with big heads, looking very much like the so-called little grays. These two beings seem to be sitting in an open-top UFO, which feels quite unreasonable. So, photos that are too clear like this are actually considered fake instead. In 2021, someone again photographed a triangular UFO by the sea. From the shadow on its underside, you can clearly see the triangle shape. Because it was not far from the California coast, more than one person saw it. Someone even used an iPhone to record a video, where you can also see that the bottom has 5 points of light. It is said that after the 1990s, triangular UFOs have had the highest frequency of sightings, and in many cases they are the same model. There are also ones with 3 lights. Perhaps the number of lights represents power, or can be switched at will. In fact, in modern times, with advances in photography, UFOs that are captured are getting clearer and clearer. For example, this one taken by NASA, released on its official website, a UFO photo taken from the space shuttle with a Hasselblad camera is believed to show a triangular UFO, but some people think it is nothing more than a triangular piece of space junk. There is also the legendary alien Black Knight satellite, said to be orbiting the Earth, which was eventually confirmed to be a strangely shaped piece of space debris. This photo was also provided by NASA. Another example is this spherical UFO, captured by a night vision camera. Its brightness is very high and very regular. It really feels like a solid object. It is said that as long as you go outside with night vision equipment, you can capture many strange, luminous objects. What exactly they are still has no definitive answer. And there is now a strange paradox. Photos and videos of UFOs always seem to be blurry, and the clear ones are considered fake. For example, this triangular UFO accidentally captured outdoors by a woman in Ontario, Canada, while she was out with her family. Its shape, position, and flight path are all very clear. Yet because it's too clear, it's considered unreal. So should UFOs be clear or not? Perhaps even the UFOs themselves are confused. First of all, these UFO sightings do not occur only in the United States. Someone has counted that UFOs have appeared on all the continents: North America, South America, Europe, Africa, Asia, and even Antarctica has had sightings. It's just that American media are particularly keen on reporting such things. UFOs themselves are also a part of American culture, so they create the illusion that UFOs only go to America, but that's actually not true at all. If extraterrestrials really exist, they would certainly treat the whole Earth equally. From these UFO photos over the years, we can see that their forms can roughly be divided into 3 types. Disc-shaped, spherical, and cigar-shaped. So why, from ancient times to today, are most UFOs disc-shaped? It's just like our human aircraft. Although they all look different, they all have 2 wings. Their general form is the same. The same goes for discs. If these UFOs really do come from beyond Earth, we can imagine that they come from at least 3 different civilizations, and what they have in common is that their craft do not conform to aerodynamics. In other words, their propulsion methods are completely different from ours. Perhaps they make use of Earth's magnetic field, or gravity, or even more advanced modes of flight, so they can be made in shapes that don't follow aerodynamics. Whether these 3 civilizations are connected, or whether they have long treated Earth as a kind of zoo to visit, we simply don't know. Only if one day we use equipment powerful enough to capture definitive evidence of their existence will we be able to solve this mystery of the ages.